Welcome to Women Leading Change Now Radio. Women Leading Change Now assists women leaders in becoming and being influential leaders in the arenas of politics, business, and nonprofit organizations, and in transforming their environments into flourishing models. Women Leading Change Now moves women from thought to implementation through training, mentoring, expos, and summits. Women Leading Change Now advocates issues that affect women, families, the economy, and policy. So welcome to Advocacy Tuesdays. Our guest today is Rita Harden. Rita is an author, poet, and talk show hostess. She's the founder and CEO of Community Advocates in Action, a nonprofit organization dedicated to educating young people on the political process. Their programs include youth conferences, symposiums, summits, and debates, as well as political town hall meetings. For the community at large, she provides voter registration events such as Get Out the Vote rallies and advocacy for local and state candidates. She founded the Property Managers Association in the International Village of DeKalb County, Chamblay, and Doraville, and is author of the book Speaking of the Tongue, Words of Spiritual, Poetic Inspiration. Harden's internet TV show, Speaking of the Tongue, streams live every Saturday at 1 o'clock Eastern at WAIN TV. Weekly guests speak on topics of community interest and political issues directly affecting the community, social services available in the community, and everyday people doing their good deed to affect change for the betterment of community. Rita is a board advisor to Women Leading Change Now. Please help me in welcoming Rita. Hi, Rita. Welcome to the show.
Hi, how are you, dear?
Doing quite well. I'm excited to have you here to be able to talk about your path and how you're helping our young people have a voice in the whole process.
Well, I'm excited to be here, and I thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Oh, absolutely. So let's start at the beginning. Can you tell us where you're from?
I'm from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Who were some of your role models when you were growing up?
Well, pretty much was my teachers and community, people in the community where I lived, because we were all close. It was just a close family. You know, you came home, you got your homework done. If you wanted to go outside and play, if mom wasn't home, you had to go ask the neighbor. And the neighbor would say, well, come on here, let me show you how to cook something, or let me show you that we would read, or they would, allow us to do a little art in the house. Or it was just all in the community. It wasn't any particular role model at all. If you were doing something wrong in the neighborhood, the neighbor would come and tell the parent. It's a little different now, but everybody looked out for each other.
Oh, that's wonderful. So you had great neighborhood support for growing like in a village.
Yes, exactly.
Were you involved in organizations in the community?
When I got in high school, I was. We were involved in a program called Safe Streets, because there was so much, and we go back to gang activity at that time as well. And we worked with a community program. This was federally funded and also locally funded in the city of Philadelphia, where we tried to, as a high school student, I kind of mentored the younger women and younger men as well in this program called Safe Streets.
And did you continue something like that in college?
Well, what I did was, I had my daughter. I came out of high school, and my daughter was born. So I went off and on to college, trying to raise her at the same time. And finally, when I was able to get at the point where I could go back to school, I did. And once I did, then I got that's where my interest came in with property management, because you're still talking about community and multifamily housing.
Well, that's wonderful. That's wonderful you were able to make that change in your life and to find something of real value and meaning for you. So why did you decide to start the Property Managers Association?
Well, the Property Managers Association is actually out of the International Village in Chamblay, Georgia, where you have an overwhelming community community of diversity. And we're talking anyone from the Hispanic community, Russians, you have people from Bosnia, people from Pakistan, people from all over the world that live in that community have come to America. And that's why they call it the International Village. And of course, all of us managers decided to come together and put together this association during the 2000 census. It was a way and an avenue to help us to get the needs that our residents needed with regards to sidewalks, because there were no sidewalks in some of the areas, with regards to parks, with regards to playground areas, and as well as health care, child care. And so we were able to, through the census, and gather up all of our residents and work as a group, be able to show some numbers that there were some things needed in the community.
You know, that actually sounds like a wonderful microcosm of the world. You have such diversity there.
You know, a lot of the people that live in the area, in the international community, some of them, even Vietnamese, some of them came in and through the International Refugee Committee. And, you know, they had no idea of how to use the stove, no idea of how to, with the toilet, instead of putting the tissue in the toilet, they put it in the trash can for fear it was going to back up, because they never used this kind of thing in their country. I mean, it was amazing to me to see some of the things that they were not able to do and needed education on, and you know, and just working with them in the community. Yeah. And this was in the 90s.
You know, I know a lot of families that have been in the same boat, shall we say, when they came across. And here in America, we have services and facilities that, you know, they just were not exposed to. And really giving them the dignity of learning just the simple things that we take for granted here in the States is really quite a service for their being able to be productive and confident out in the community. Thank you for doing that.
Most of our the apartment communities in this particular area, as president of the association, you know, I was president for 10 years, and I was adamant about making sure they had some sort of amenities also, because these are older properties. There's no amenities on site. It's so very little, and so we try to, through social service groups and businesses in the area, to bring something to the community. After all, they live there, they pay taxes to the city, and so we try to bring something there to them. We had quite a few faith-based organizations that are still there and would take apartments inside the community and help them with ESL classes and help them to learn how to, you know, adjust to the living conditions that they should be living in America, you know.
What is the population in this community that you were addressing?
Pretty large. I can't even imagine what it is right now. But we're talking hundreds of thousands, of people throughout the DeKalb and Doraville area. There's a lot of people, and pretty much they tend to stay there because others that have, you know, finally, for instance, some of the Vietnamese people, after they came here through the International Refugee Committee, and after 5 years they were able to get their citizenship, and then they started their own businesses and restaurants, and so it's an array of things through this village that they relate to and they are comfortable with. And so even the Hispanic community, they have their own stores and their own shops, and so they all just kind of are comfortable with where they are. And there's people that are still living there when I was working in that area, because of the comfort that they feel with that. It's amazing.
Could you tell us about the name of your book, Speaking of the Tongue?
Speaking of the Tongue, Words of Spiritual Poetic Inspiration, is a book that I wrote I started, it took me 3 years to write. Not easy trying to put together an array of poems of spiritual inspiration, but just from my own thoughts and challenges I was going through myself is what inspired me to do it. The first poem that I wrote was called The Fear in Me, and it talks about being afraid to do anything. Letting others tell me, oh, you're not going to be able to do that, you can't do that, or just being afraid. And that was the very first poem that I wrote in that book, and it's an awesome poem. And each time I read it, whenever I go to, because I get a lot of calls to come to churches to read poems from my book. It's just amazing the response that I get on that particular poem, because so many people can relate to that. A lot of people say, I want to start a business, or I want to do this, or whatever it might be. And they keep putting it off. Oh, I'm going to do it, and this is what I was doing. I'm going to get to this book. I'm going to do this. And some parts of me was afraid. I was afraid that maybe it'd be a flop, or maybe, whatever. I'm not cut out to be an author. Why should I think I could be an author? And so those kinds of things came to mind, and that's what got me to write. And once I wrote that poem, The Fear in Me, I was just on a roll after that. I got through that poem, and I was just on a roll after that. And the second poem was called Faith, and believing in myself and trusting. So the book is just awesome. It's a great, great book for anything you may be going through in life, from marriage to divorce to death to, as I said, faith. It's got something in there for anything that's going on in anybody's life that they just need to just maybe one day just open the book and read it and feel better about it. So I'm really excited about my book. It's been out since 2011, and I promote it in every way I can. And of course, I'm one of many, many authors, so hopefully it'll take off at some point. But right now, I'm comfortable with it because I'm getting a lot of feedback whenever I'm invited out to churches to read poems, because people love what they hear. I read a poem on my show. I open my show with a poem from my book, and it always relates to whatever we're talking about on the show for that particular day. During my show, each month is always a new series on something that's going on in the community or something that's affecting us. And as this month of June, we're doing, the theme for this month is working families, income and inequality is what our topic is for this month. Last month it was God's servants, single mom, single dad, community advocates making a difference. And so those are the kind of guests I've had on the show. And so this month it's all women. And so we started off yesterday with the Teacup Girls, the ladies that are developing these young women, and then of course next Saturday we'll be having the women's roundtable discussion, and from there the last 2 Saturdays we have two really prominent women who have made differences and done some great things in the community. So that's pretty much how that whole programming works for me. And I try to incorporate community advocates in action in all of that each and every Saturday on the show.
Okay. Where can people get your book, Rita?
RoseDogBooks.com or AmazonBooks.com.
Oh, good. All right. Okay, thank you very much for sharing that with us. Oh, I see. So when did you start with Community Advocates in Action work?
Started with Community Advocates in Action in 2012. And it was a kind of a spin-off from my show, because the first thing that happened was with my book. And, just the feelings in my heart and the expression of spirituality and wanting to just give people some comfort, maybe just to read a poem, they make them feel better, because it made me feel better because I enjoyed writing. And so I sat down and put this book of poems together. And once I had the book published, I spoke with a number of people I wanted to share it with, and just happened to speak with an attorney who I've been working with the property, a landlord tenant attorney, and he owned the studio, WAIN.TV and WAEN.TV. And when I was telling him about the book, he says, no, you gotta come and get on the show and talk about your book. And, one side of the station, WAIN, is inspirational. The other side is the entertainment, WAEN. So he invited me to come on and talk about my book on WAIN, the inspiration station. And after that, it was just a great feeling to be able to share that with the audience and the community watching. And they asked, well, would you consider doing a show? And I said, well, what would I do a show about, And I thought about it, and I said, well, what I'd love to do is helping people and working in the community. So I titled the show Speaking the Tongue, and after my book. And I started I said, I want to focus on the young people. I want to get the young people involved and engaged in the community. They're our future. They need to be versed on what's happening to them, for them, what can happen. And so that's how I started the show out with young people. And when I say young people, I mean like from 8 years old to 14 years old, doing talent shows and bringing kids in to show, let them see that they can be somebody, and you can sing, you can dance, okay. And so it went on like that, and then eventually I changed programming and started getting more community organizations that were out working with young people to come on the show and talk about what they're doing and to share that with the audience, so that if there were people listening that wanted to get involved, that just making this an avenue of community relationship and engagement. Yeah. And so, eventually I decided on this political, because I'm a political junkie. I mean, I won't deny that, but I started to see how important it was for our young people to engage themselves in the political process, because they are our future. And maybe there are some out there that have dreams to be a senator or governor or mayor or president or whatever it might be, but to just, and not only that, but to just so that they can understand that politics is everything. If from where you're eating, you buy a pair of shoes, politics is in that. It's in that mix. There's something political going on with anything and everything we do on a daily basis. So that's how I started Community Advocates in Action, and got a group of people together. We met several times, people from the NAACP, local chapter here in Atlanta. We had people from other organizations that joined. We set up a board, we set up advisories, and we've just been doing very well with it. But we needed to take it a step further and start to, other than to get out the vote and registering people, I said we need to start doing some conferences for the young people. We need to get them to engage with us, find out what their feelings are, and the importance of civics, the importance of learning politics 101, the basics of voting, registration, how the government works, Congress, Senate, all of those kinds of things. I believe is important for our young people to know. And you go down the street today and ask them, well, who's the vice president? Some of them may not even know. You go down the street today and you say, well, here's a kid that's 12 years old, and the only president he knows is President Obama. So there's so much to learn and understand in the history of things that have happened to us in these last 20 to 40 years. So with that, we began our debate, our Youth Summit debate, which we will be having next month, July 27th. We'll have a summit and a youth debate. And we will have our young Republican, our young Democrat, our young independent. This is our third annual event that we do this every year, right around election time, to engage. We'll have a number of speakers. We'll have political science instructors that will talk about politics and 101 and the basics. So I'm excited about that, and that's pretty much how I came to get into this organization and putting it together.
Oh, that's exciting.
It's July 26th, and it'll be at the Memorial Drive Presbyterian Church, in Stone Mountain, Georgia, is where I do it every year. We start off with the morning session, which we have speakers, and all of our, well, I say not all of them, but the majority of our speakers are young people that are involved in some sort of way in the community and doing great things. Through the National Action Network, we have young people that are on Youth Move that will speak. The local chapter of the Atlanta NAACP, we have the young leaders there that will speak. We have people from WLC, young people that are involved, and as well as young people in mentoring organizations. So they'll speak and we'll talk, and we'll have our instructors to talk about politics and understanding how it works and how the structure of government runs and voting, registration, and that kind of thing. And then in the afternoon, we begin the debate. And we have the debate, we have judges, and we just engage in that debate.
Do they know ahead of time what the debate topics are going to be?
Well, yes, we try to give them a heads up as to the issues, but we like for them to also bring up issues, so that they can go, toe-to-toe with one another. There may be an issue on their mind that they want to talk about, maybe student loans, maybe debt, because these are college students, most of them, or at least they have been, the last two debates. And so they talk about jobs or whatever, so we let them engage. And we do throw out some questions there, here and there, and then the judges make the, last year the Republican won. And he had all of his ducks in order, his statistics, and he did his research. So fair is fair, and that's what a debate is all about.
Oh, that's wonderful. So it's really live and very timely. So working with the youth, what do you see are the, say, top 3 issues that they're really facing today?
Well, I have to say that the first thing is the student debt, the student loan debt for the young people, for the college students. I'm just really adamant about that because, they've gotten into all this debt and nobody's giving them a job. We can't get a job bills passed. We can't get anything done in Congress. And we got students in so much debt that, it's just ridiculous. So if you don't have a job, you can't pay anything. So then the next thing would be jobs. And then the final thing would be, a living wage for young people. Because they have to feel like there's something out there for them. They have to feel like, where am I going? Where am I headed? If I'm coming out of college with a degree and I can't find a job and I'm back where I started at McDonald's for $7.75, it's just horrible. So for me, those 3 issues for young people, outside of the fact that we have those who are not in college and are still in school, struggling with the ability to be able to find themselves. And you can't find yourself if there's no mentorship, if there's no guidance, if there's nothing at home. The parents at home, it's hard with working families. Working families are the key to everything as far as our economic situation. But if you got a parent working 2 and 3 jobs at $7.25 an hour with 2 or 3 kids, where's the time for them to spend with their children and develop them? So much personal development is needed with a lot of our young kids who are it's just not there in the home because of the inability, the time for our single mothers, our single dads that can have with them because they're busy providing that roof over your head and the food you need to eat tomorrow. And that's why I applaud so many organizations who are out here assisting in mentorship and assisting in personal development with our young people. Yeah.
Is your organization able to coordinate at all with the White House and the working summits?
Well, I did go online, and I did post on the initiative page about the event that we're doing this Saturday. I've been a team member of Obama forever, and I try to stay in touch as much as I can with what I'm doing, as far as community advocates in action is concerned. Yeah.
What can other people do to support what you're actually doing for the youth and for families? And you have an event coming up on Saturday?
Yes, we have the working families. We have a roundtable, women's roundtable discussion that we'll be doing on my show on this Saturday. We have politicians, we have business women. These are all women, business that own their own businesses or have a founder or CEO of a community organization, and also educators that will take part in this discussion to talk about the issues that are directly affecting working families, equal pay. Ms. Gamble also will be on the panel as well to provide us with statistics and information and research that has been done when we talk about income and inequality and a working wage and a living wage and equal pay for women. And the ways that people can help is to watch and online, because it will be all across the state of Georgia, and for anybody in any other state that wants to go to www.wain.tv at 1 p.m. and watch the discussion. Yes.
And is that going to be for 1 hour, or is this an extended program?
It's an extended program. My program is normally 1 hour, but this will be extended till about 3 o'clock.
Wonderful, wonderful.
We'll have two separate panels. We'll have one at 1 o'clock and one at 2 o'clock.
Okay.
And we also will have, my goal is, and I have received some confirmations, my goal is to have in our audience, because seating is limited in the studio, is to have males who have organizations or men who have a business or men who are local politicians to engage our women in this discussion. What I'm trying to do is, because of the limited time that we have, I want to make sure that we hear these women, we identify some issues, and then at a later time have a call-in, which I plan to do when we do our town hall meeting.
Oh, wonderful. Okay. Okay, so this is just the beginning of what sounds like a much deeper process.
Yes, ma'am. We plan to keep it moving. Once we finish this, of course, we'll go right into our youth summit and debate forum, and then we will begin our townhouse. We usually have a town hall meeting about I'd say a month just before the elections, where we have candidates who are running locally, and our youth come engage those candidates with questions, and that would also be on my show.
Wonderful. Do you have a website, Rita, where people can find out more about everything that you're doing, or links to your different organizations?
Yes. They can go to my webpage, which is RitaHarden.com, or Community Advocates in Action. It can come either way. Community Advocates in Action or RitaHarden.com. There's a page to contact. There's a calendar of the things that we're doing as of today. Also, they can go to Community Advocates in Action, my Facebook page. It's always updated. Everything I do on my Facebook page has nothing else to do with nothing else but what Community Advocates in Action is doing. So there are, those avenues are available.
Oh, wonderful.
Also, they can watch You know, they can watch the show every Saturday at 1 p.m. I was so excited with my show yesterday. We had an organization, a 501c3 organization called the Teacup Girls, Inc. And what they do is personal development and mentorship with girls ages 5 to 18 years old. And so it was just so much fun to have these young ladies to come on and talk about how they had well, I used to have an attitude, but I don't have one now because I'm a lady now. I feel like it was just great to see the development that comes out of this organization and what they're doing with these young. Prior to that, the week before, we had the gentlemen. We had an organization called the Elite Gentlemen's Club, and what they do also is personal development with young men. And so we had an opportunity to interview with those young men and talk about, I was hard-headed. I was always causing trouble in school and getting in trouble all the time and getting suspended. And Mr. Hall came and talked to me, and so they have totally transformed these young people. And so those are the things that really touch my heart, is seeing this kind of engagement with our young people, and that knowing that there's organizations out there that are trying to make a difference,
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. It's so encouraging to see not only that our young people are getting engaged, but they're actually creating something themselves.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So Rita, for young people who have a sense that they want to contribute in some way to the civic or political process, and trying to figure out how to get engaged, how to tap into it, and how to continue going, because it can sometimes be discouraging. What are some words of wisdom you can give to them?
Well, I would say this. I would say that, first of all, it's very difficult to engage our young people in this type of a process because it's a little more difficult for them to understand. And I try to do it in a lay person way, by talking to them and saying, did you vote today? Or are you registered to vote? Because you know that if you've got that student loan over there and you don't vote, maybe you may end up paying more interest in, just being kind of down to earth with them and how the cause and effect comes. Because you can't really get on a political rally with them about it, but to just try to explain to them the importance of civics, to try to explain to them the importance of their duty, that when they become 18 years old, if they don't vote or if they don't engage themselves in the issues that are affecting them, then their future is lost, because everything is dependent upon that for their future. So I try to say to them, and when we have our conferences and when we have our symposiums and what have you, this is where I try to get this message across. I also try to get this message across to them on the show, by talking and hoping that parents are listening. I also try to get this message across on my Facebook page, because I find people are more engaged on the Facebook page than they are on my website. And I put pics and demonstrations of things that are cause and effect, and I get wonderful response from it. So I know that it's working. But when we have our conferences and when we have our symposiums or what have you, we are recruiting. And every time I have an event, it gets bigger and bigger. And what we want to do, our goal, is to get all of these that have registered and we have recruited into Community Advocates in Action to take over this organization, to become just that, Advocates in Action, young people getting involved in the political process. So I say to them that, I just take it on that lower layman's level and just straight out, this is what it is. If you don't vote or register, you can't complain about that. You want to know why you don't have a job. Well, why are we getting $7.20? You have to understand the process, that you have a voice. You have a voice and you have the right to vote. And that's where the change comes. It may not come when you want it, but you have to do it. You have to vote. You have to register. You have to vote. You have a voice, and you should make that voice heard. That's where the change comes.
Thank you, Rita. Thank you. Profound words, very profound words. Now, the Women Leading Change Now is going to have the Summit on Working Families in Atlanta on August 9th. Will we be able to see you there?
Oh, definitely. I'm looking forward to it.
Wonderful. And
I'm looking forward.
Yes, and will we be able to find out more about your organization there?
Yes, ma'am.
Looking forward to it.
Will. I plan to bring quite a few young people with me. I appreciate you giving me this opportunity because community advocates in action is just not in Georgia. It can be anywhere. With a group of people who are interested in educating the young people and getting them more involved in the political process. We have so many, when you look at the Senate and you look at Congress, it's people running forever, but they're not doing anything.
Mm.
And so we need leadership. We need new blood. We need fresh young minds, to start to get involved, and make changes. As long as we keep all this old has been, been there, done that, we're getting nowhere fast. We're going nowhere fast. We need to get our young people more engaged.
Thank you so much, Rita. It's been wonderful having you on the show, and I'm sure we'll have you back again.
Well, anytime. I'd love to, and thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate it very much.
Okay, thank you.